welcoming you to the journey of the conscious evolved man, the true remembrance. And today I'm excited to dive into our second week of conscious communication. As you know, each week, each module is a building block to grow, to expand, and to remember in being that conscious evolved man. And I find that today is one of the most powerful tools that you can use in solving any problem or conflict. And that is the art of communication. For just imagine in anything that you've dealt with in life, any situation that has been difficult, challenging, or has created a problem, and somewhere at the root level, the solution was communication. The ability of how you were able to move through it, because with every conflict, there comes a part where you're not just communicating outwardly to move through the situation. You're communicating inwardly. And today I find it's so important for many men to understand really what effective communication is. For could you just imagine if you were an effective communicator and how your job would be like in talking to your fellow employees? Could you imagine when you talk to your spouse, your mother, your father, at the highest level of communication, how that conversation would look like? Could you even imagine talking to yourself with presence, joy, happiness, how that relationship with yourself would be different? That is why I'm so excited for today, because I find this is such a pivotal point in our journey of a conscious evolved man, because really, if you look at your life, who, what, and where did we ever learn how to be a conscious communicator? Really, when you look at schools, when you look at some of our role models, when you look at society, have they ever taken the time in a larger situation to explain the role of communication, not just from this mental body, but from your emotions, from your feelings, and from your heart? That is why today I'm so excited to dive deeper into this, because I feel you and many men are, let's just say, having a challenge during these times, because when we don't know how to communicate effectively, we don't know how to connect. When we don't know how to communicate, we don't know how to fully problem solve. And what I really find most important is when we don't know how to communicate, we don't stand in the authority of who we really are, because sometimes we're just following that old belief of just trying to accept ourselves through the eyes of others versus accepting ourselves through the eyes of what we see within. That is why I find from the previous class, awareness gives such a huge tool to bring communication into the forefront. Because what happens when you become an effective communicator? Number one, you have the ability to have a healthy emotional response. Number two, you actually become an inspiration and model for others, because when you speak and talk, others will want to move through the exact same way you did. And number four, I find one of the greatest elements, number three actually, is to problem solve, to give yourself the opportunity to, when you're communicating within yourself and others, you have a way to navigate. Now, when I grew up, I knew it was really challenging to communicate, because my emotional body and most men's emotional body was underdeveloped. I had a father that would scream so loud when he got angry that I thought when I get emotional, that would be the way to communicate to others. And so I formed this way of inability to express my emotions. Yet I started to understand what would happen if we just draw more awareness to those emotions and thoughts by creating a deeper relationship with them. Actually understanding what the difference is between an emotion, a response, a stimulus that actually creates a psychological behavioral response within you versus the feeling, which is the conscious experience of the emotion. And we start to understand that relationship. What happens when we start to understand that communication is not just only our ability to express, but what I understand within myself that's been so difficult, and I see with so many men, is that difficulty of listening. And when I say listening, actively listening and hearing from your heart and not from your head. Listening from a place where you're not responding or fixing, but you're being as present as possible. And number 3, what would happen if you created a healthy communication within yourself so that as you develop that, you create a beautiful relationship with everyone around you? These are the areas that I find so important to really understand this art of communication, because what I really see is, and this was from a dear teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, that expressed, the greatest gift you can give another is your full presence. And that full presence is how you communicate. Not just from how you speak, not just from how you listen. It's the presence of how you communicate in your full consciousness. And so today I invite those that want to dive deeper into this 12-week journey of being a conscious, evolved man and learning the importance, the keys, the challenges, the tools that one can experience in developing this art of communication. Because I know at the end of the day, when we look at everything moving around us, it's that relationship that we can connect through in our communication. And what happens if this level of consciousness around us is expanding, that it elevates higher levels of communication from higher skill sets? Yet we're still developing what we've never been taught as a child, because as a man, we were never taught to be good communicators. We weren't taught how to express our emotions. We weren't taught how to be, due to the limiting beliefs and the programs that society gave us. So for today, maybe ask yourself, what would it be like if I could express my emotions in a healthy way? How would it feel? What would it look like if I could communicate through actively listening and not responding through fixing or solving? And lastly, what type of relationship within myself could I create in healthy communication? These are powerful questions which I invite you to think, to marinate. And once again, for those that want to dive deeper into this module that I'll be teaching in this 12-week journey of tools, pillars that are here in allowing you to become that evolved conscious man, please click on the link below, and I would be honored to have your presence in this sacred journey. I'm wishing you all a most beautiful, blessed day.